One piece of trivia about every Mortal Kombat fighter, go! Ashura is voiced by Susan Eisenberg in M1K. Eisenberg is best known as Wonder Woman in various iterations, including Injustice. This could explain her sword's golden whip form in the game. In Wonder Woman's MK vs DC Universe ending, she obtained Ashura's sword, so the connection has been there for a while. Baraka's face was created with a Nosferatu mask and silver-painted fake fingernails. The mask was apparently very tight and hot. Blaze was inspired by the Flaming Man in the background of the Pit 2. Once his story was fleshed out in Unchained and Armageddon, however, it became impossible for them to be the same character. Bo' Rai Cho's name comes from the Spanish word borracho, meaning drunk. The team found it could be split into 3 Asian-sounding syllables, and so used it for the Drunken Master character. Cassie Cage appears with the other Kombat kids in M1K's final chapter, but the scene was originally longer, showing the 4 killing a good number of fighters. When or why this was removed, I have no idea. Cetrion... well, she's theorized to possibly be the sister of Raiden, who gets mentioned a bunch in M1K intros. I don't know. Chameleon has never explicitly been stated to be a Saurian, unlike his female counterpart. Their association and their shared aesthetic and green blood in Armageddon do suggest he is, however. Cyrax's cameo fatality in M1K was actually Smoke's originally back in MK3, but Cyrax did have it in MK Gold, hence it now being seen as his. D'Vorah was, according to writer Brian Chard, developed from a scrapped character that was replaced as the final boss of MKX by Shinnok. He was codenamed Mr. X, but nothing else is known of him. Dagon's role in the MKX comic, had it continued, would have been to use the Onaga-infused Goro to help him reach where Taven is sleeping and kill him before he can awaken, only to find that he's already awoken and that Dagon's entire scheme was for nothing. Dairu was designed as an Outworlder for Deadly Alliance. After not making the cut the first time, he was revived to flesh out the Order Realm Civil War plotline in Deception. Darius has 3 palettes in M1K called Shintoryu, Gojuryu, and Sneaky Leopard. These derive from his 3 unarmed styles in the 3D era. Draman is not actually from the Netherrealm. He was an Outworld warlord who was killed and then was tortured in hell until he lost his humanity. His mask seems to help him maintain his sanity, as it comes off for his more savage styles in Deadly Alliance. Ermac referring to himself with plural terms only came about in Deception. In early adaptations, he referred to himself with singular terms. Erron Black is heavily suggested to have never been a member of the Black Dragon in MKX, and explicitly stated as such in its prequel comic. This made MK11 and Onslaught's contradictory depiction baffling for many fans. Farah becomes a hulking beast like Tor when he dies in their ending, suggesting she would have had her own pint-sized rider had she returned for MK11 and been cycled out herself after that. Frost was often theorized to be the long-lost younger sister of the Sub-Zeros, briefly mentioned as having been left behind with their mother in America in the MK Mythologies manual. Nothing in the original timeline explicitly supports or contradicts this. Fujin is wearing a cape in MK4, just like in Mythologies. It's just a texture instead of a model piece because of technological limitations, but the clasps are still there, and the outfit is largely unchanged from Mythologies. Geras had blue blood in early development for MK11. This can be seen in footage from the reveal event. In the final build, it's red, despite D'Vorah still having blue. Goro has 7 wives according to the MK1 comic. Havoc's design was created as a Noob Saibot reimagining in Deception, but the team felt it didn't fit him and used it for a Chaos Realmer instead, while Noob remained more classic. This is why the 2 characters have continued to be associated with each other ever since. Hotaru's name is Japanese for Firefly. His flags say Firefly in traditional Chinese. Suhao appeared on a poster in the M1K Tea House stage before launch. This was later patched out, despite far more egregious pictures using MK11 screenshots continuing to be present. Both of Jackie Briggs' voice actresses appear in the CW's Arrowverse. MKX's Danielle Nicolay was Cecile Horton, and MK11's Megalyn Ichikun-Woke was Mari McCabe. Jade was planned for inclusion in the 1995 movie, having a fight with Sonya, but it was ultimately cut. This explains why Sonya only has the 1 fight in the film. Some elements of this sequence were incorporated into her fight with Liu Kang in Annihilation, however. Janet Cage's palettes are all named after movies her male counterpart has starred in, implying that they exist in her timeline as well. Jarek's Armageddon bio states that Jax threw him off a cliff in MK4. In MK4, this occurs after Jarek throws Sonya to her death. Sonya being thrown off was never acknowledged elsewhere, leaving the exact sequence of events unclear since 2006. The idea of Jax losing his arms originates in his MK vs DC Universe bio. Prior to this, the arms were basically gloves. Johnny Cage has had 3 wives across the canon: Cindy Ford, Sonya Blade, and Christina. Cabal's long coat in Deception was planned for MK3, but technical limitations forced the team to leave it out. Kai was supposed to appear in MKX according to Brian Chard. He recalled it being the role given to Bo' Rai Cho. Kai was also supposed to appear in Deadly Alliance but didn't make the cut there either. Despite having the accent since Special Forces in 2000, Kano wasn't explicitly referred to as Australian in the games until Onslaught in 2022. Kenshi's eyes originally were just turned white in his blinding. His MK9 trailer started the trend of having them bleed or be destroyed. To this day, Chameleon remains exclusively playable on Nintendo systems, MK Trilogy on the N64 and Armageddon on the Wii. This could change with the upcoming Legacy Collection. Kintaro was not a Shokan originally, simply a Tiger Man, but the costume was deemed too difficult, and so they made him a Shokan depicted with a clay model just like Goro. Mechanically, Kira is a mix of Kano and Sonya, utilising almost nothing but their moves and weapons. She's like Cassie, but for the worst kinds of shippers. Kitana started as Princess Kitsune, the daughter of Proto Shang Tsung in the original story for MK1, but was later cut from the game and repurposed as the daughter of MK2's final boss. Cobra is often compared to Ken from Street Fighter, but his aesthetic is actually more likely inspired by Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai. A version of his Armageddon Versus render and his bio card even put him in his black palette to make it more obvious. Collector's blood was originally gold as seen in his severed head render. No gameplay footage of this exists, however. In universe, Kotal Khan inspired the Mayan war god Bulak Chabtan, meaning that Mayan culture is heavily influenced by Oshtek culture. Kronika is still voiced by Jennifer Hale in M1K. They just messed with her voice to an obscene degree, but some pitch shifting reveals it really is still her.
What I want, Shang Tsung, is to elevate you, to make you the great sorcerer that now you can only pretend to be.
Kung Jin was likely planned for M1K's DLC before the game was rushed to release. While Cassie and Jackie had recycled designs, the boys got new ones, but Jin's was never used. Additionally, a man with the same mohawk can be seen at Scorpion's wedding in the Invasion Season 1 intro. Other attendees include Liu Kang, Johnny Cage and Raiden, so the guests aren't random. So he seems to have been intended to pop up early in the game's life cycle, only to be pushed out of Combat Pack 1 to make room for Quan Chi and Ermac, who was supposed to be on the base roster, and then Combat Pack 2 was all about the Lin Kuei, so he didn't fit there, and Combat Pack 3 has officially been cancelled. Poor guy. Kung Lao's name was originally in Western naming order, with Kung being his given name and Lao being his surname, going off of Liu Kang's family's names according to MK1. With the introduction of Kung Jin instead of Jin Lao in MKX, this is no longer the case. Curtis Stryker was planned for MK1, but when the story was reworked and Kitsune was dropped, he was replaced by Sonya Blade. Stryker was then supposedly going to appear as Sonya's CO in MK2, only for him to be renamed Jackson Briggs. When he finally debuted in MK3, he became arguably the least popular character in the series until Mavado and Su-Hao debuted 7 years later. Li Mei used the style mechanic to highlight her story progression in Deception. After being trained by Bo Rai Cho between games, Li Mei inherited his Mizong style when he switched to Sumo. Similarly, Shujinko inherited the Mantis and Shaolin Fist styles from fellow Bo Rai Cho apprentice Kung Lao. Liu Kang is a fisherman by trade. Madame Bo marks Kelly Hu's 6th role in Mortal Kombat. She previously voiced Devora, Sindel, Frost, Ashra, and Li Mei. Mavado's name derives from the Spanish Malvado, meaning wicked. Meat's character model in Armageddon is an edited version of Dramin, most apparent in the hip and collarbones. This is why Dramin's mask stays on in all his styles, unlike in Deadly Alliance. Melina has never appeared in a scene with Kitana in a movie, nor been depicted as Kitana's clone. Annihilation keeps them separate and only makes a nod to the clone thing. The prequel show Conquest has them interact, but Melina is a random woman morphed into Kitana. 2021 has Melina but no Kitana, while its sequel does the opposite, and they are different races. Only Legacy ever depicted them together and correctly. Mocap is remembered for shouting, "Oh my balls!" in Conquest mode when struck. On the surface, this is just a joke about his mocap suit and a comedic nutshot. But mocap is based on Carlos Pesina, who performed motion capture for early 3D MK games and was the original Raiden. This matters because, according to his brother Daniel Pesina, it was Carlos hurting his balls performing Raiden's torpedo and making a gibberish exclamation that inspired the series' iconic gibberish battle cries. Moloch was conceived as having an owl that would drop his ball, and he would rise from the ground where it was dropped. Perhaps it was intended for an intro animation when fighting him in the arcade mode? Motaro's Annihilation actor, Darren McBee, is said to have been in a relationship with Shiva actress Margene Holden at the time of filming. This is amusing given the character's intense rivalry, and that the games would later have Shiva murder Motaro. Nightwolf is one of only 2 characters to have 3 different friendships in the series, as the N64 version of Trilogy changed it from a Raiden transformation into axe juggling. The other character is Sonya. Bihan as well if you want to get technical. Nitara's battle cries in M1K were not provided by Megan Fox, but Christina V instead. Fingers crossed she gets to play her for real. Noob Saibot's classic costume in MK9 has a neat Easter egg. Press start when selecting it, and his shadow double is now Smoke as a nod to Noob Smoke. Onaga's design in Deadly Alliance, while not clear, is very different from Deception. This is presumably his original body, while his in-game form is influenced by having Reptile as his host. Quan Chi's tattoos originally had storyline significance, being markings from Onaga's tomb that he branded himself with to have the knowledge on hand. Later games redesigned them and made them a core part of his aesthetic with no consideration for the timeline. Raiden's hair was originally stated to be black, the 95 movie depicted him with white, and the 3D era followed suit. All subsequent works have depicted him with black or grey hair. Rain did not exist in Ultimate MK3. He was a joke inserted into the game's Attract movie to trick people into searching for him. He only became real in home ports. Reiko's original arcade ending in MK4 depicted him walking through a portal and nothing else. The home ports added him sitting on a throne and Shao Kahn's helmet descending onto his head. For years it was believed that Reiko was a disguise for the supposedly dead emperor, until Deception cleared the matter up. Reiko was then redefined as a die-hard Shao Kahn fanboy and has remained as such ever since. Reptile can turn other people invisible according to the MKX comic. Serena's demon form in M1K was originally mentioned in her Armageddon bio. Fans waited from 2006 to 2023 to finally see it. How worth it the wait ultimately was is up to you. Scorpion's first official nationality was Korean, as the 1994 Jeff Rovin novel predates the first suggestion of Chinese heritage from the Malibu comics by several months. Sector was first depicted as a black man with dreadlocks in Defenders of the Realm, while Cyrax appeared to be Asian. This was reversed in MK9, since Cyrax was confirmed black in MK Gold. Shao Kahn originally had Tarkatan teeth, as all Outworlders were planned to be Tarkatans. This idea was changed during development, but he's still a bald monster man, as the MK2 comic shows. Shang Tsung was originally a vampire named Shang Lao. Presumably, that's where the name Kung Lao came from. Shiva actually dies in Aftermath, according to an online poll WB conducted about the expansion. In the game it's so unclear that without this poll, we would have no idea that she was dead. Shinnok is revealed as Raiden and Shao Kahn's father in Annihilation. The games never acknowledge this, though the two sons are stated to be brothers in DC Universe, and backward speech in Deception claims Shao is of the same race as Raiden.
Shao Kahn, Lucifer, and Raiden are of the same race of beings.
It's possible, then, that this was under consideration to be canon around that time, which would make Kronika Raiden's grandmother. Shujinko's final form is inspired by Pai Mei's depiction in Kill Bill. His second colour palette and his fatality in M1K make this inspiration even more explicit. Sindel's MK3 actress, Leah Montalongo, was dating Shao Kahn's actor Brian Glynn for several years after filming for MK3. This is ironic for obvious reasons. Scarlet was in early drafts of MKX's story according to Brian Chard. No specifics were ever given. Smoke may have had a larger role in Deception originally, as announcer voice files cover every permutation of him and Noob.
Noob Smoke. Smoke Noob. Noob Smoke.
And there's an alternate character select icon where he is at the front instead of Noob. In fact, audio exists of a solo ending in the game files.
Smoke had been reprogrammed to serve Noob Saibot, who had brought him to the Netherrealm.
Sonya Blade's mother is named Erica. This is amusing as the second voice for her daughter Cassie is Erica Lindbeck. Sub-Zero has a business card for his services as an assassin. It's a lot of S's. Takeda shares his name with the founder of the Shirairu and the host of Scorpion in MK Conquest. Canonically, it appears to be a coincidence. Tanya, like Sonya, is named after one of Ed Boon's sisters. The two have shared two separate voice actors. Taven was planned to have a bow originally for adventure gameplay purposes. Tremor made his mainline series debut in Vita-exclusive Challenge Tower missions in MK9. He mixes moves from various characters and has Scorpion's voice and Smoke's stance. Tor has greenish skin when he first shows up in the MKX comic. Triborg shares his voice with MKX Sector, Vic Chow. And with that, we are done. Bye then. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is how to improve every single Mortal Kombat character by Cynical Warlock. It also covers all the characters in some way, and that is the connection.